The arrival. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Phoenix, watching the massive Nexus trade hub grow larger on the main screen. The space station was a marvel of alien engineering, built like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the void. Ships from dozens of different species docked at its arms, trading goods and information from across the galaxy. Elena had not seen anything like it in 40 long years. "Admiral, we're receiving a hail from the station," reported Lieutenant Marcus Webb from the communications console. The young man had been born during humanity's exile and had never seen aliens before today. His voice carried a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Put them through, Lieutenant," Elena said calmly. She straightened her uniform and composed her face into an expression of humility and weariness. The act had to be perfect. The main screen flickered and showed the face of Station Commander Thex. The alien was insectoid, with large compound eyes and clicking mandibles. His chitinous face showed surprise when he saw Elena's human features. "By the void," Thex clicked, his translator making his words sound metallic. "Humans, I never thought I would see your species again. State your business at Nexus Hub." Elena bowed her head slightly, playing her part. "Commander Thex, I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Phoenix. We come seeking permission to pass through your space. We wish to return to our homeworld." Thex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of amusement among his people. "Return. Humans were exiled from the inner systems 40 years ago. Your species was deemed too violent, too unpredictable for civilized space. What makes you think anything has changed?" "We have learned much during our time in the outer darkness," Elena replied, keeping her voice humble. "Exile taught us the value of peace. We no longer seek conflict. We only wish to see our birth world one last time." The alien commander studied her through the screen. Behind him, Elena could see other aliens moving about the station's command center. She memorized their positions, their equipment, their numbers. Every detail might be important later. "You seem different from the humans in the old records," Thex admitted. "Less aggressive. Very well, you may dock at Bay 94, but you will be escorted at all times, and any sign of your old violent ways will result in immediate expulsion." "We understand, Commander. Thank you for your mercy," Elena said, bowing again. As the communication ended, Lieutenant Webb looked at her with confusion. "Admiral, why did you act like that? We're not broken. We're stronger than we've ever been." Elena smiled grimly. "Because, Marcus, the greatest weapon is surprise. They think they know what humans are capable of. Let them keep thinking that." The Phoenix docked smoothly at the designated bay. The ship was impressive, but not threatening in appearance. Its weapons were hidden, its true capabilities masked. To alien eyes, it looked like a simple exploration vessel, not the advanced warship it actually was. As Elena and her small escort team prepared to disembark, Dr. Sarah Chen approached her. The intelligence officer was a small, quiet woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "I've been monitoring their communications," Sarah said softly. "They're treating us like a curiosity, not a threat. Security is minimal. They've forgotten how to fear humans." "Good," Elena replied. "That will make this easier. Remember the mission, Sarah. We gather information, we learn their weaknesses, and we prepare the way." The docking bay was filled with aliens of every description. Tall, graceful beings with silver skin moved past squat, rock-like creatures that communicated through subsonic rumbles. The air was thick with strange scents and the babble of dozens of different languages. Commander Thex met them personally, flanked by 2 guards. The aliens carried energy weapons, but they held them casually, not expecting trouble. "Welcome to Nexus Hub," Thex said, his clicking voice echoing in the bay. "You will find we have made many improvements since humans last visited civilized space. Trade is more efficient, conflicts are rare, and order is maintained." As they walked through the station's corridors, Elena observed everything. The layout, the guard positions, the types of ships in the docking bays. She noted which species seemed to be in charge and which appeared to be laborers. The social hierarchy was clear, and humans were nowhere to be found. "Tell me, Commander," Elena said as they passed a viewport showing the busy shipping lanes around the station. "What became of the human colonies after we were exiled?" Thex's mandibles clicked in what might have been satisfaction. "They were redistributed to more suitable species. The Zephyrians took over your agricultural worlds. They are much more efficient farmers. The Crystalline Collective claimed your industrial planets. Everything is more productive now. And the humans who lived there relocated to more appropriate roles. Manual labor, mostly. Simple work that suits your species' limited capabilities." Elena nodded as if accepting this news with resignation. But inside, her anger burned cold and focused. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made her jaw clench. The aliens had not just exiled humanity. They had enslaved those left behind. They were shown to quarters in the station's guest section. The rooms were adequate but clearly designed to contain rather than comfort. Elena noticed the subtle force field generators in the walls, the monitoring devices hidden in the ventilation system. They were prisoners here, even if the bars were invisible. That night, as the station's artificial cycle dimmed the lights to simulate evening, Dr. Chen made her move. Using equipment hidden in her medical kit, she tapped into the station's communication network. Her fingers danced over her portable console as she worked. "I'm in," she whispered to Elena. "Their security is laughably primitive. I can access everything. Shipping manifests, patrol schedules, defense protocols." "What about the human colonies?" Elena asked. Sarah's face grew grim as she read the data streaming across her screen. "It's worse than we thought. The humans on the agricultural worlds are basically slaves. 12-hour workdays, minimal food, no families. The industrial worlds are even worse. Humans are treated as disposable labor." Elena felt the familiar cold rage settling in her chest. This was why they had come. This was why the plan had to succeed. "There's more," Sarah continued. "I'm detecting coded transmissions. Very faint, almost undetectable. I think there are still free humans out there. Hidden colonies, resistance groups. Can you make contact?" "I can try." Sarah's fingers flew over her controls, sending out carefully crafted signals on frequencies that most aliens couldn't detect. For long minutes, there was nothing. Then, a response. "This is Ghost Station Alpha," came a whispered human voice through Sarah's earpiece. "Please confirm identity." Elena took the communicator. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez, United Earth Space Force. We've come home." There was a long pause. Then, barely audible, "Admiral, we've been waiting. We never stopped believing someone would come back for us." "How many?" Elena asked. "More than they know. We've been hiding, planning, preparing. When the time comes, we'll be ready." Elena smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. "The time is coming soon. Stand by for further instructions." As Sarah closed the connection, Elena activated her own hidden communicator. The signal traveled through subspace, across the galaxy to the outer rim where humanity had been exiled. "Control, this is Phoenix 1, she said quietly. "Phoenix 1, this is Control. Report. The target is soft. Repeat, the target is soft. They believe their own propaganda about human weakness. Defenses are minimal, and we have allies on the inside." "Understood. Are you ready for Phase 2? Elena looked out the small viewport at the peaceful-looking trade hub, at the alien ships coming and going in blissful ignorance of what was coming. Somewhere beyond those ships lay Earth, transformed into an alien industrial complex. Somewhere out there, humans toiled in chains, dreaming of freedom. More than ready, Control. Execute Phase 2. Acknowledged. The fleet is moving to Rally Point Omega. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. Elena closed the connection and turned to find her officers watching her with anticipation. Marcus Webb, born in exile but raised on stories of Earth. Sarah Chen, whose parents had died in the labor camps. All of them ready to reclaim what was theirs. "Gentlemen, ladies," Alina said quietly, "tomorrow we visit Earth. We'll see what they've done to our home." And then she smiled, and it was not the humble expression she had worn for Commander Thex. This was the smile of a predator finally ready to hunt. Then they'll remember why they were afraid of humans in the first place. The Reckoning. The Phoenix emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, and Admiral Alina Vasquez felt her heart break. Earth hung before them like a wounded jewel, its blue oceans now gray with industrial pollution, its white clouds replaced by thick smog. The beautiful planet she remembered from her childhood was gone. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Marcus Webb, staring at the main screen. "What have they done?" Dr. Sarah Chen was busy at her sensor station, her face pale as she read the data. Massive industrial complexes cover most of the continents. The atmosphere shows toxic levels of heavy metals and chemical pollutants. The orbital traffic. She paused, her voice catching. "There are prison transports, Admiral. Hundreds of them." Alina forced herself to remain calm, though inside she was screaming. This was her birth world, the cradle of humanity, and the aliens had turned it into a factory worked by slave labor. "Incoming transmission," reported Webb. "It's from Earth Traffic Control." "Put it through," Alina ordered, once again composing her face into the mask of humility she had worn at Nexus Hub. The screen showed a reptilian face with cold yellow eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Governor Zix of the Saurian Empire, according to the intelligence files. He looked at Alina with the bored expression of someone swatting an insect. "Human vessel, this is Governor Zix, Administrator of Production World Designation Terra 3. State your purpose." Alina bowed her head. "Honored Governor, I am Admiral Vasquez. We are returning humans who seek permission to visit our former homeworld. We understand it is now under your wise administration." Zix's laugh was like grinding metal. "Former homeworld. This is a production facility now, human. Far more efficient than when your species cluttered it with their wasteful cities. But I suppose you may observe what proper management can accomplish. Dock at Station 7. As they approached the planet, Alina could see the scope of the transformation. Where New York had once stood, a massive mining operation scared the landscape. The Great Lakes had been drained and filled with processing plants. The Amazon rainforest was gone, replaced by vast chemical factories. "Admiral," Sarah said quietly, "I'm detecting human life signs. Millions of them. They're in the industrial complexes, working around the clock. The biometric readings. They're malnourished, exhausted." Alina's hands clenched into fists. "Soon," she promised silently. "Very soon." They docked at the orbital station, a ugly metal structure that served as the planet's command center. Governor Zix met them personally, flanked by heavily armed Saurian guards. He was larger in person, nearly 8 feet tall with scales that gleamed like black armor. "So," Zix hissed, walking slowly around Alina's small group, "the famous humans return. Your reputation was quite fearsome once. Now look at you. Broken, humble, begging for permission to see your old home." "Exile taught us humility, Governor," Alina replied, keeping her voice steady. "Indeed. Well, come, let me show you what we have accomplished." They took a transport shuttle down to the surface. The sky was a sickly yellow color, and the air was thick enough to taste. Through the shuttle's windows, Alina could see vast complexes stretching to the horizon, all of them belching smoke and chemical waste. "Beautiful, is it not?" Zix said proudly. "This planet now produces more raw materials than any other world in the sector. The humans make excellent workers once properly motivated. They landed at what had once been Central Park in Manhattan. Now it was a sprawling factory complex. As they walked through the facility, Alina saw them, Humans in dirty gray uniforms, their faces gaunt and tired, working at dangerous machinery under the watchful eyes of alien overseers. One of the humans, an older woman with silver hair, looked up as they passed. Her eyes met Alina's, and for just a moment, Alina saw recognition there. The woman's lips moved silently. Earth Defense Force. She had recognized Alina's uniform. Alina gave the slightest nod, and the woman's face transformed. Hope. After 40 years of slavery, hope had returned to human eyes. The workers seem content, Alina said to Zix, though the word tasted like poison. Content enough, the governor replied. They are fed regularly, given adequate rest periods, and their medical needs are met, much better than they could manage on their own. They continued the tour, and at each facility, Alina saw the same thing. Humans working in terrible conditions, producing goods for alien masters, their spirits crushed but not quite broken. And in each facility, a few workers would recognize her uniform and pass the word along in whispers and gestures. That evening, they were taken to what had once been the United Nations building, now serving as Zix's personal palace. The governor hosted a dinner in their honor, inviting other alien administrators to meet the tame humans. I must say, commented a crystalline being whose faceted body caught the light, these humans are much more pleasant than the old records suggested. Perhaps exile really did civilize them. Indeed, agreed a floating jellyfish-like creature. They seem to have learned their place in the Galactic Order. Alina smiled and nodded, playing her part perfectly. But under the table, her hand moved to a hidden control on her belt. A single pulse, transmitted on a frequency only human devices could detect. Across the planet, in hidden tunnels and secret chambers, human resistance fighters received the signal they had been waiting for 40 years. The Phoenix had returned, and with it, hope for liberation. But Alina's signal was not just for Earth. It traveled through subspace relays that the aliens had never detected, reaching across the galaxy to the outer rim where humanity had been exiled. "This is Phoenix One," Alina whispered into her communicator late that night, alone in her assigned quarters. "The Eagle has landed. Confirm fleet status." "Phoenix One, this is Fleet Command," came the reply. "All elements are in position. 200 vessels, fully armed and crewed. We are ready to begin Operation Homecoming." Alina looked out her window at the poisoned sky of Earth. Tomorrow, that sky would be filled with human ships. "Execute Operation Homecoming," she ordered. "All targets, all systems. It's time to come home." The next morning, Alina and her team were scheduled to visit the lunar mining colonies. As their transport lifted off from Earth's surface, Alina seemed to be looking sadly at the planet below. In reality, she was counting guard stations and weapon emplacements. "You seem melancholy, Admiral," Governor Zix observed. "Does seeing your old world sadden you?" Alina turned to him with a smile that made his scales prickle with sudden unease. "Oh no, Governor. I'm not sad at all." At that moment, space around Earth erupted with light. 200 human warships dropped out of hyperspace simultaneously, their weapons already charging. The fleet that emerged from exile was not the ragtag collection of survivors the aliens expected. These were state-of-the-art vessels, built during 40 years of preparation in the dark spaces between stars. Governor Zix stared at the display screens in shock. "Impossible. Your species was broken. You were sent away in defeat." Alina stood, and her humble mask finally fell away. Her voice was cold as space, and twice as deadly. "You never broke us, Governor. You just taught us patience." The Phoenix, which had seemed like a simple exploration vessel, suddenly bristled with weapons as its disguised armor plating retracted. Around the system, similar transformations were taking place as hidden human bases activated and resistance cells emerged from 40 years of hiding. "You see," Alina continued as Zix backed away in terror, "humans have one trait that you never understood. We don't just survive. We adapt. We learn. We plan. And we never, ever forget." Across the galaxy, the same scene was playing out on dozens of worlds. Human colonies that the aliens thought they had claimed were suddenly under attack by hidden fleets. The resistance networks that Dr. Chen had contacted were rising up simultaneously, guided by decades of careful planning. On Earth, the factories fell silent as human workers looked up to see their own ships filling the sky. The alien overseers who had tormented them for decades found themselves surrounded by humans who no longer cowered. "Attention all human colonies," Alina broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. The exile is over. We have come home." The response was immediate and overwhelming. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, human voices answered. From resistance cells on distant worlds, the call came back, "Welcome home." Governor Zix tried to reach for his weapon, but Alina was faster. A lifetime of exile had made every human harder, stronger, more dangerous than the aliens remembered. "The galaxy forgot what humans are capable of when we're united," Alina said as Zix collapsed unconscious at her feet. "You thought exile would break us. Instead, it forged us into something stronger." Within hours, every human world was free. The aliens who had enslaved humanity for 4 decades found themselves facing a species they no longer recognized, one that had spent 40 years planning this exact moment. The Nexus trade hub, where Alina had played the humble exile just days before, was now surrounded by human warships. Commander Thex's frantic calls for help went unanswered, as his own allies fled rather than face humanity's wrath. But Alina's greatest satisfaction came from Earth itself. As the human fleet established orbit, the prisoners in the factories looked up to see their own flag flying again. The blue and white of Earth, symbol of a world that had never truly been conquered. "Dr. Chen," Alina said as she stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, watching the liberation of her homeworld. "Send a message to the Galactic Council." "What should it say, Admiral?" Alina smiled, and it was the smile of a species that had not just survived, but thrived in exile. "Tell them that humanity has returned. And this time, we're not asking for permission." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy would learn that the humans they had exiled were not the same ones who had returned. 40 years of exile had taught humanity patience, unity, and the value of careful planning. The species that had once been seen as chaotic and unpredictable had become something far more dangerous, organized, and determined. The age of human exile was over. The age of human ascendancy had begun.